Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sheen, your host. This is Money Matters. In this channel, we talk about money, finance, how to make money work hard for you, how to invest your money, and how to grow your money. If you like what I'm doing, check out my other videos. Consider subscribing. Give a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel, all right? Today, we're going to talk about the cruise line industry. Are they sinking? Are they going to go bankrupt? Are they just totally done for? So in order to answer that question, there's three main topics I'm going to hit today. Number one, is the business model profitable? Number two, will people stop cruising? And number three, will they go bankrupt? Before we get started, let's just go over an overall picture of the cruise industry as of current. There's three main players. Here they are. Carnival Cruise Line. Their stock is currently trading at $11.15. I'm going to show you what I was buying this stock for roughly just a month ago. Norwegian Cruise Lines down to $8.63. Royal Caribbean down to $23.53. So on a 1 month period, Carnival is down 70.35%. Norwegian Cruise Line almost down 80%. Royal Caribbean down 75%. So you'll see Carnival Cruise Line has the biggest market share. So they are really the main player in the in the cruise industry. They have multiple brands under their name. So they have currently a $8.2 billion market cap. The next biggest is Royal Caribbean with nearly $5 billion market cap, and Norwegian the smallest with 1.8 billion market cap. So the cruise industry has, as you would expect, taken a huge hit. No one's taking cruises now. Everyone's afraid of taking cruises. They don't want to be stuck on a ship. As you know what's going on right now, I don't think anybody wants to be stuck on a ship and just be kind of quarantined on a ship. That's no fun at all. So obviously the cruise industry has taken a dramatic hit. Will it recover though? That's the big question. So look on screen here. This is what I was buying Carnival at just less than a month ago, about a month ago. I was buying Carnival at $41.85. Incredible. Now it's down to 11 bucks. So needless to say, I did not see this coming. If I did, I would have waited a little bit longer and bought more at this lower price point. But my average on my public account that I share with you guys is, I believe, $31, which is not too bad. Given the fact that it was my average cost basis was 40 some dollars when I started beginning. So I was able to bring that down to like $31, I believe, right now. So I believe that's pretty decent. I am trying to reduce the cost basis, but I don't think I'm ever going to get it down to in the 20s where I would really like it. But that is you live and you learn. I definitely went too heavy on the very beginning and got my cost basis too high. But you live and you learn, right? That's what you always want to do. When you start a position, don't go too much, don't go too heavy into it. That way, if it does go down, you're able to lower your cost basis. That's what I preach in a lot of my videos, and firsthand experience. I wish I would have done that with this stock for sure. So let's get to the meat of this video. Are they going to survive? So number one question is the business model profitable? So these three main players, are they making money? It takes a lot to run these ships, pay the staff, build these ships. Each ship is, at least a few $1 billion. And, all the fuel that they burn, all the expenses. Do they make a profit? So let's see. So I'm going to really run down the numbers for Carnival only because that's what I'm invested in. I'm invested in the biggest player in the market, and it's Carnival. But all the three are profitable. So I'm just going to run down Carnival's numbers. So here are the revenue numbers for Carnival starting in 2015 to 2019. So these numbers are in the millions. So that's 15.7 billion in 2015, 16.3 billion in 2016, 2017, 17.5 billion. 2018, 18.8 billion, and 2019, 20.8 billion. So you do see that steady, healthy increase in their revenue. What about their net income? So that's the top line. Revenues was the top line. After you're calculating all their expenses and everything that they paid out, what do they put into their pockets? And that is a nice growth as well, going from 1.7 billion in 2015. In 2018, they topped out at 3.2 billion. In 2019, they went down a little bit, but not dramatic. 2.9 billion, roughly almost 3 billion in 3 billion in 2019. So obviously those numbers tell the story that it is a profitable company. They have been profitable for a long, long time. So they really know what they're doing here. We'll look at the statistics on the passengers. So the passengers are going from 10 billion in 2015, steady increase up to almost 13 billion passengers carried in 2019. So you see those numbers, revenue is increasing, net income is increasing, passengers are increasing. So clearly this business model is profitable. Otherwise, these companies would not be able to have been running this long, and they would have been out of business a long time ago. It is not cheap to run these cruise lines. So they do know what they're doing, and of course they are profitable, and these numbers just reinforce that. So how do the companies make money? Yes, obviously they sell you the cruise ticket, for your cabin, and if you've never been on a cruise, like people say it's all inclusive, all the money, all the food you want to eat, and everything's entertainment is paid for. It's like all inclusive, and that's one of the big draws of going on a cruise. You have your travel, your destinations to whatever islands, that's already set. You have a designated driver, somebody driving the ship. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to drive. You don't have to fly. You don't have to do anything. You just sit there and relax, eat all the food, the entertainment. There's so much things you could do. So how else do they make money? Obviously, they sell tickets, but they make a lot of money on the ship itself. So you see, look, they make money on fine dining. So yes, all the food is included, all the buffets and the small restaurants, but there's a lot of fine dining on cruise ships as well. And the fine dining restaurants, they're 4-star, 5-star restaurants with top chefs as well. And so those you do have to pay extra for. And even if only one time out of a 7-day cruise you go to a fine dining restaurant, that can make up billions of dollars throughout the year with how many passengers they have. And when people are on vacation, they tend to spend money. You just that one time, whatever, 200, 300 bucks for a family of just one time fine dining. People will tend to spend that money when they are on vacation. Maybe if you're at home, you wouldn't do it, but when you're on vacation, anybody that's been on vacation, you just tend to spend more money. That's the human nature. That's the way it is. And they know that, and that's how they get you. Also, liquor, alcohol, they make tons of money on the alcohol. Alcohol is a huge markup on the ship, and people are going to drink. And again, you're on vacation, so you're going to pay whatever the price is, and you're not going to really think about it. And also, it's not like you're paying cash. You swipe it on the card that they give you. It's like a room card, a room key. So you kind of just swipe, and you never really realize how much money you're spending until the very end. So that's how they get you. They're smart. They know what they're doing. Next thing is duty-free stores. Once you're out in international waters, they have these stores that open, and they're called duty-free stores. Supposedly you don't pay taxes. Things are supposedly cheaper. I'm not sure if that's true. I mean, I've seen some of the prices, and again, I think that's where they get you. People just want to shop. They want to do something, and they see, oh, it's tax-free. I'm gonna buy it. So that's where they get you. Also, they have merchandise on their cruise ships. They make tons of money off of their merchandise. Of course, also casino, gambling. Gambling, the house always wins. And on cruise ships, the house even wins a lot more than you would expect. In Vegas, the house wins tremendously, but on cruise ships, the house never loses. They have it down to a science. They're gonna make a lot of money off of you during your cruise if you keep on going to the casino. So that again, that's a huge profit maker for the ships, is the casinos. Spas are huge. Again, people want to get treated, to relax. You probably won't go to the spa every day or every week when you're at home, but when you're on vacation, maybe just once, maybe just twice, you're going to hit that spa. And so that again is extra money that the cruise lines will make off of you. In conclusion, obviously the cruise lines are majorly profitable. They know they got this down to a science. They're going to make tons of money off of you. Once you get on that ship, they are just looking at you like a cash cow. They're going to suck as much money as they can off of you. And they've been doing it successfully for the past 10, 20 years, whatever it is. So the second question, are people going to stop cruising? After this whole situation, are people going to say like, I don't ever want to be stuck on a ship. I'm never going to go on a cruise. There's no way I'm going to go on a cruise and get sick. And so do you think people will stop cruising? And that's a really good, legitimate question, and really nobody knows the answer. But I do know, like, this is not the first time there was an outbreak of any virus on a cruise ship. If you look throughout the CDC, they have a history of how many cruise ships have been struck with viruses, and hundreds and hundreds of people have gotten sick. But people still go on cruises, and the numbers show that, billions of people go on cruises every year. And really, it's just the money is just so cheap for what you get. You're able to go to different destinations, sometimes 3, 4, 5 destinations for one single price. You have a designated driver, like I said, all the food you want, entertainment. So the price of it really outweighs what you're going to do if you had to fly there, rent a car and do all that. So people are always going to go on cruises. I think a few years down the line, people are it's gonna forget. They're gonna not really consider it. Their armor is going to be down. It's just like after 9/11. People were like, I'm never going to fly. I'm not going to take a risk. I will never fly an airline again. But people still fly. It's the only way to get around. And it's the same thing. If you want to have a decent vacation for a relatively good price and do everything that the cruise line offers you, the money is just unbeatable if you take a cruise. So I think, yes, they're gonna hurt. The cruise lines are gonna see a decrease in their revenues for sure. Maybe in the next 2, maybe 3 years. But human beings, that's how they are. They're gonna forget this whole thing. They're gonna let their armor down. They're gonna the cruise lines are gonna implement new policies and to make things better. And then the news is not gonna report on the viruses anymore. And so people just go back to normal. It happens all the time. You're just going to go back to your normal habits, back to the way everything was. And time and time again, that's exactly what happens. So yes, I'm sure some people will never take a cruise if they have a bad experience, but there are always new people, and there's always people that have never taken a cruise. So I think there's plenty of fresh people that are willing to take a cruise. So my opinion is no, people are not going to stop cruising. So number 3, will they go bankrupt? That's a really legitimate question. All the cruise lines are basically stopped operations. They're not making any money, but they still have to maintain their ships. They still have bills to pay. They still have operations that need to be taken care of. So right now they're just kind of bleeding money without making any money. The cruise ships are kind of docked and unable to do anything. So they're definitely bleeding a lot of money. So will they go bankrupt? That's a good question. And in order to answer that question, we really need to look at their numbers. This is where their balance sheet comes into play. So again, we're only going to look at Carnival because, again, that's the company that I'm invested in. But I'll tell you, out of all their balance sheets, Carnival is the strongest balance sheet. And that's probably why they're the number one player in the market. So here's Carnival's numbers. So in just total cash, they have roughly $500 million in total cash. Compared to Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, they roughly have double in just cash. Both Royal Caribbean and Norwegian have roughly $200 million in cash. So Carnival has roughly $518 million in cash. So here's their balance sheet going from 2015 to 2019, and you see total assets growing year over year. Well, almost growing year over year. From 2015, it went from 39 billion to 38 billion. Then it went to 40 billion in 2017, 42 billion in 2018, and 45 billion in 2019 for total assets. A healthy increase in their assets. That's always good to see a company getting more assets. And compared to their debt, so 2019 they have 45 billion in total assets, but 11.5 billion in debt. That is a pretty nice looking balance sheet, and it is definitely the best looking balance sheet of the 3. So like I said, they are bleeding money, and we're going to see exactly what they are doing to try to hold them over as far as Carnival goes. So my opinion is, are they going to go bankrupt? And my quick answer is no, I don't think they're going to go bankrupt because first of all, Carnival does have a lot of assets compared to their debt, and they could draw on these assets, and they have credit lines that they're going to draw on their credit lines. And so who holds their debt? Banks hold their debt. Companies that they're already contracted to build new ships, they have to put out the money to build these ships. But I think these things are going to be negotiated, and debt is going to be restructured and refinanced. And so basically, the Fed has cut rates to basically near zero. So pretty much any company that wants to get a loan is going to be able to get a loan. So the question is, will the banks loan to Carnival and to the cruise industry as a whole? At the very least, Carnival will make it out alive, only because they already have a better balance sheet and they are nicely profitable and they are the number one player in the market. And that's just the way it is. The strong survive. The one with the best balance sheet, the one with the most money, the one with the most market share, they're usually the ones that are going to survive. But as a whole, I think all three of them will likely still survive. But I just have my money bet on Carnival just because they're the biggest player. So this is taken fresh off of Carnival's investor relations site. So basically, this is saying a breakdown of what exactly they're doing to hold them over. And so I've highlighted basically the main points. So as of February 29th, 2020, the corporation, which is Carnival, the whole corporation, had $11.7 billion of liquidity. On March 13th, 2020, the corporation fully drew down $3 billion. So basically, they got a $3 billion loan from some bank, some financial institution. They're able to get another $3 billion, and that is going to try to hold them over for the time being. And so basically, they leveraged everything they had to secure this loan. So the last sentence there, substantially all of the corporation's assets, with the exception of certain ships with a net book value of approximately $6 billion as of February 29th, are currently available to be pledged as collateral. I don't know why they excluded these certain ships, $6 billion worth of ships, but basically they leveraged the whole company as collateral for this loan that they are receiving. I believe it's supposed to be a 6-month loan, so they're trying to get all this money and draw on their credit and draw on the liquidity that they already have to try to hold them over and see what shakes out in the next 6 months or closer to the end of the year. So another thing that they're doing, maybe you saw it on the news or in a headline somewhere, they're offering to the government and to local governments to use their ships that are docked doing nothing. They're offering them to be used as hospitals. But an interesting line on their statement right here, the last line, basically this whole thing talks about Carnival offering facilities on their ships to be used as hospital beds. And so the last line, as part of the offer, interested parties will be asked to cover only the essential costs of the ship's operation while in port. And I just thought that was kind of interesting, and it's really a smart move because these ships are at the port and they're just docked there and basically bleeding money, just sitting there bleeding money. So if they are going to be used for something and used as makeshift hospitals, the government, the local government or the federal government or the hospital that takes this offer, they'll be asked to pay for the essential costs of the ship while it's being docked there. And so that's a good move. I mean, you're just bleeding money just for it to be sitting there and doing nothing, and you might as well make a little bit. I mean, not really make that money, but at least kind of instead of hemorrhaging your cash and blood, at least you'll be getting kind of like a little band-aid of these additional funds that are coming in for using your ships as these makeshift hospitals. So as a business move, that's pretty smart. I think it's a win-win for both parties. Hospitals are running out of hospital beds. There's plenty of room and plenty of medical bays on these ships. And also, Carnival is bleeding money. And if there's going to be some good use of these ships and that brings in a little bit of revenue, like I said, that's a win-win. Great business move. We'll see if that actually happens. And then there are reports that Trump is considering this situation of actually using these ships as makeshift hospitals. So we'll see what happens. Another thing I want to point out is Carnival does have a good lever to pull to get extra cash because they are paying a pretty healthy dividend. So their profits that they're making, some of that is being paid out to their investors as dividends. So I think right now their dividends is up to 17% or something crazy like that. There's no way they're going to be able to continually pay that. I don't think they're going to pay that this coming year. So for sure their dividend is going to get cut, and that's just coming down the line. The company's bleeding money. They're going to cut their dividends. So that is a lever that they're going to pull, and their dividends account for extra $1.3 billion of extra cash that they can have to hold them over even longer if they needed to. So that's a really strong lever to pull. As an investor, obviously I'm going to be sad to see dividends go, but I'd much rather they pull that away and get the company healthy and in the future bring back the dividends. So compared to Norwegian, so Norwegian does not have that extra lever to pull because Norwegian does not pay any dividends. All their profits are reallocated into the business, so they don't have that extra cash that they were not using that they could kind of pull back on. Royal Caribbean also does pay a dividend, and I fully expect them to cut that dividend as well. But the dividend for Carnival is much higher, so they're going to have even more cash to hold them over. So to answer number three, I don't think they're going to go bankrupt. They have roughly, I said, roughly $11 billion in liquidity. They're getting extra loans, another $3 billion on top of that. They're going to eventually pull that dividend, I'm sure. So that's another $1.3 billion. So they have a pretty healthy size stack of cash that they're sitting on that they could, pay their expenses and, try to hold the company together. And there's no reason why they can't get more loans because nobody wins if they go bankrupt. The banks aren't going to win. This is a profitable company. The industry is profitable. So the banks do not want a bunch of ships on their hand. The banks aren't going to do anything with the ships. They don't know what to do with ships. They're not going to be able to sell these ships. Who's going to buy a ship after all the cruise lines go bankrupt? It's not an industry that you can just start overnight, just buy a bunch of ships and then just start a cruise company. These companies are built over decades, so no one's going to start a new cruise company after these companies go bankrupt if they go bankrupt. So the banks will be able to loan them money. The Fed has cut interest rates, kind of just forcing anybody that wants money to be able to get money. So again, the banks are not going to win if they go bankrupt. They don't want a bunch of these ships on their hands, and then they have to sell at fire sale prices and basically make no profit off of it. They're much better off giving them a loan just to hold them over, and then maybe it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, the company is going to be profitable again. They've shown that they're profitable, and they show they know what they're doing. So nobody wins if they go bankrupt. So I don't think they're going to go bankrupt. The other question is, do you think the government will bail them out? If the banks don't give them a loan, do you think the government will bail them out? I don't think so. The government could bail out, the airline industry because, everyone has to fly. That's not just leisurely travel, that's also business travel. So everybody has to fly. So also the airlines are mostly, U.S. airliners are U.S. companies that employ a lot of U.S. American citizens. So airlines that go out of business, that's hugely bad for the economy, hugely bad for the American people and travel and business in general. But a cruise line that goes out of business, that's not really business travel, that's just leisurely travel. And you'll see Carnival is not really an American company. Their headquarters are actually in Panama, and they probably do that just to get away with paying even more taxes. Pretty much every single cruise company does this since they're not really in the States officially. They're really mostly out in the ocean. So they're able to get away with saying, oh, well, our headquarters is in Panama. We're going to pay taxes in Panama. We'll pay a little bit of U.S. taxes, when we dock our ships in U.S. ports. But majority of their time, they're out in sea. So they kind of get away with that. So there's no way that the American people are going to bail out basically not an American company that doesn't really employ that many Americans, honestly. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship, the majority of their staff are not American. They are from South America, from Asia. So they make a lot of money coming on these cruise ships, and they spend roughly half of their year just going out into the ocean, and they make a lot of money doing so. So there's no way that the American people are going to bail out the cruise lines. And I don't think they should either. I don't think Americans should be footing the bill for a leisurely travel cruise company that's not based in the United States. So I don't think the government's going to bail them out. But I don't think they're going to go bankrupt either. So just really quick, I'll show you my position on Carnival right here. So basically, I am down 63%. My cost basis is $31.90 on 59.8 shares of Carnival. I have two line items of the same stock. My account is just kind of screwy right now because, long story short, I opened the margin account and then it kind of just messed it up. I'm waiting for them to correct this. But basically, I have another line item where a cost basis of $11.17 for 20 shares of Carnival. So I was just trying to bring down my cost basis a little bit. But overall, my cost basis is roughly, in the lower 30s. Probably if you average that in, it'll probably be like close to $30 a share on Carnival. So that's my current position. I would really like to bring it down to the 20s, like I said, but I don't think that's going to be really likely. I mean, I just put too much money up front on Carnival, and that's why my cost basis is in the lower 30s. But I'm okay with that position. You know, I was originally buying it in the 40s, and just to bring it down to basically 30 is pretty good for me. I'm happy with that. I would like to bring it down a little bit more. We'll see what happens, how things shake out. But again, if you like this video, if you like my breakdown of the reasons why I think the cruise industry is not going to go out of business, not going to go bankrupt, and if one of the three are going to survive, it would be Carnival based on their numbers. If you agree with me, let me know. Give me a comment. If you are invested in cruise stocks, let me know which ones you're invested in. I like to read all your comments. Consider subscribing. If you like all my videos, give a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. So please do give that thumbs up. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.